Some more analysis now here on RT and speak to John Laughlin, the Director of Studies at the Institute of Democracy and Cooperation in Paris. So joining us live here on the programme. Thanks very much for coming on so quickly. Do you really think it's just as simple as all that, the issue of protecting France's economic interests?
There's a part of it that explains part of it, doesn't it? I mean, it's no secret that, as you've said in your report, that Niger is a big exporter of uranium. There have been discoveries of gas and oil in Mali itself. So yes, the energy factor explains a lot in international politics. But I think there are other factors as well. And I think the two main factors in this are France's own desire to strengthen her role on the international stage, in particular vis-à-vis her European partners, and also the American strategic plans for Africa. It's important to know that America, which strongly supports France in this Malian intervention, and who has sent Joe Biden, the Vice President, to Paris, even as I'm speaking to you now, America has plans for establishing a military presence and a military control over the whole of the African continent. The structure in question is known as AFRICOM, and one has to, I think, speculate that America might be interested, together with Britain and France, in establishing some kind of permanent military presence in a continent where, as I'm sure many of your viewers know, China has been establishing an economic presence now very successfully for a large number of years.
So, John, you're talking about a lot of geostrategic positioning here. Many have also talked about how ultimately Africa, the continent, is an untapped source of what some call the world's biggest amount of natural and mineral wealth there. We know that France is leading the campaign into Mali. America is offering logistic support. Prime Minister Cameron has now sent over 300 of troops to be boots on the ground as well. It does appear that it's turned from a unilateral intervention to now a multilateral, multinational force led by the French. Are we talking about securing vast mineral wealth there, or what else could we read into it? How else?
Well, we are indeed observing, as you say in your question, a pattern that was established really during the Libya campaign in 2011, when, as your viewers will remember, France took the lead, Britain joined in very quickly, and America came in, as it were, on their coattails. Some people speculated and have used the phrase that this was America leading from behind, that America had decided to put forward its European allies to do, as it were, its dirty work. Is it just a grab for resources? Yes, it's obvious that the securing of energy resources is one of the key factors behind many, if not most, geopolitical developments today. And this fact, frankly, is admitted, for instance, by NATO, which declares the securing of energy resources to be one of its legitimate policy goals in its own official documents. But as I say, I think we have to also look at this as an intervention which is being undertaken for internal French and internal European policy reasons. France militarily, until 2011, when it attacked together with Britain and America, and indeed the whole of NATO, when it attacked Libya to overthrow Gaddafi, France had not had a very great military presence. And I think there must have been people in Paris who were wondering why the only military active country in Europe was the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom undertook a large number of military operations in the period from the late 90s.
John, I'm so sorry. I do apologise. I just want to jump in here quickly because you're bringing up very, very interesting points about how whether it's Western Europe or even America trying to get involved here at Mali. What about in the region, for example, Niger? We know we've got French troops on the ground there protecting a uranium mine. Niger's president, or excuse me, some would say Niger's president, says that he could be looking to renegotiate local mining deals with other global partners, possibly that of China. Now, if indeed you're right, and America and European powers are trying to get a solid ground, their boots on the grounds there in Niger and Mali, what does China think about all this?
Well, I mean, there is a scramble for Africa, isn't there? China has been, as it were, peacefully colonizing Africa for a number of years. There are large economic interests, Chinese interests, all over the African continent, many of them connected with energy. And so if the president of Niger says this kind of thing, it is obviously a sort of brinkmanship. He's obviously trying to bid up the price between two rivals. That's why I say that of course, the issue of hydrocarbons and uranium and other energy sources is a key and may even be the decisive factor. But as I say, there are also even broader strategic issues, including the desire, which I believe to be the case on the part of America, to have permanent military bases in Africa. It'll be like Iraq. You know, there's a terrorist threat or an alleged terrorist threat, a military operation, and that leads to permanent bases. And this has been the pattern of interventions, of American interventions and Western interventions generally, now for decades.
Well, certainly not just in Afghanistan and Iraq, but in many, many countries around the world as well. Let's bring on the issue here. As we know that France is ultimately leading the campaign in Mali and Niger, but as many know, France's economy continues to stumble. Do you really think Paris can afford such an aggressive state of foreign policy at this point?
No, I mean, I don't think Paris can afford anything at the moment. The Labour minister famously said 10 days ago that the country was bankrupt. But I don't think that European politicians in that sense are rational. I think that's partly why I'm a little sceptical about these very rational explanations for these interventions, such as the desire to control resources. I'm very often really more struck by the short-term nature of decision-making. And I think, as I say, that there could well be some rivalry, I'm sure there is, between Britain and Paris, between Britain and France on this. The idea is to beef up France's military profile on the European stage, and of course also to strengthen President Hollande's own standing within France itself.
All right, John Laughlin, the Director of Studies at the Institute of Democracy and Cooperation in Paris. It's getting interesting. I hope to see you in the future. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.